So this will be part 1 of 2 of my last session with this dude. I have worked with him maybe 8 to 10 times in the past few weeks, and he's an interesting horse because he will pick things up really fast on his good days, but he has bad days where he totally forgets everything and you have to restart. But in the couple of weeks that I've worked with him, I kind of figured him out a little bit, so this is where we kind of started doing body work. So first, I just started out petting him and using the crop to pet him as well. And then, as you saw before, I started backing him up and making him move off of pressure. So right here, I'm going to start asking him to pivot, which you'll see in a second, which he's only ever done once. He really gets things quickly on his good days, though, so he really picked it up. So I add pressure with my crop and ask him to move over. So I am kind of holding onto his face, which you can see. And that's just because he feels a little bit unstable without it. So he does a little bit better when I'm holding it, especially for this being his second time ever. But obviously, if I had worked on this more, I would not be holding his face. So as you can see, I add a little bit of pressure and he moves over. But if he didn't do that, I would have added more pressure. You can't hear this from the original video, but my extra pressure I add before I actually tap is clucking or kissing. Usually I use kissing before clucking. It's just better in my opinion. But then if he doesn't move over with that, I would tap him. Okay, so here is where I ask him to yield his hindquarters, which he has never done before. Usually this is one of the first things I work with, but he really didn't want me by his butt, so I thought if I would ask him to move his butt away from me, he would do that like all the time. So first thing I do is I just lean in, and if they don't give to that, I'll swing my crop, and if they don't respond to that, I'll cluck or kiss, and then finally I'll tap. But I really want them to give to just the swinging and the leaning. I don't know why I was resorting to swinging immediately. I should have just leaned first. But that's why I'm glad I get videos so I can reflect and improve. Okay, so this is part 2 of my last session with this guy. In this video, we're just going to be working on getting him used to the saddle pad. This is one of the most repetitive processes of starting a horse under saddle. I use English pads every single time, no matter if it's going to be an English horse or a Western horse, because there is a lot of swinging around this saddle pad. And I always pretty much guarantee that that pad ends up on the ground at some point. So yeah, the first thing I do is just desensitize. If you've ever watched me train in person, I do a lot of desensitizing. Most of which I cut out in this video, but you have to see some of it because it is a really big part. So he's usually really nervous, but he wanted to prove me wrong, I guess, because he was really, really good today. And you can see that his foot is rested, but I would never trust that on this horse because he will look like he's about to die in his face, but his foot will be relaxed. And he's also tried to kick me at some point when he went from looking completely relaxed to just freaking out. So anyway, I start by swinging the pad around like you saw for the last 2 minutes probably, and then I start by putting it on the neck. Like everything else, I'll start with the face, then the neck, then the shoulder and leg, and then the back and stomach, and then the butt. He's really nervous about the butt, which you will see at some point, but this is a really long video. So he was really good. He didn't really care that much, but there was quite a few minutes that I've cut out in this video. He let me put the pad on, no big deal, which is really good, and I honestly don't think that he will be hard to start under saddle, but he's just a little bit nervous and reactive. Okay, so here's where I start to swing it at his butt, and I believe that in person he did kind of like shake / flinch, I don't know, but you really can't see it on the video. This has been a really, really interesting horse to work with, though, because he makes you take all of what you thought you knew about horses' body language and training and throw it out the window. I've had to change my training so many times to adapt to this horse, but that taught me so much. Anyway, I do the exact same thing I did on that side, on this side. You can see he really didn't care that much, which is weird because he doesn't even like the lead rope, which you could see he just shook his head because he doesn't like the lead rope. It has been really, really fun to work with this dude, but he will be going to his new home probably this Tuesday, which is why I said that it was my last training session. He is not my horse, he's just a client horse, but he has been a really fun one.